Greetings, brothers and sisters. So this is Tuesday, January 24th, and I had a few things to address here. Somebody was asking me about Whispers of the Brighter World messages and to do with the prophecies. And, the best way to do this without adding extra labor for me, which is the most important thing, is that if I read a message, jot down the date and the time, and that's why I say all that stuff, because you can use the archives. There's a whisper a day. If you search a whisper a day, it leads you to the Sahaj Marg website where there is an archives with all the whispers. You have to create an account and sign in, and then you go through the archives by date, by upload date of when they by release date, the message date. And that way you can get all the whispers that I talk about here and copy them for yourself without involving me. And so that's the best way to go about it. I have read all the whispers prophecies in a separate video, so you can go through those and then figure that out from there. And so I shouldn't be involved in that because, again, I set everything up so it's less taxing on me. I'm already busy. Now, I'm putting the podcast stuff up on Spotify. I'm always having to create content here, and then I'm redoing the Apocalaughs Now channel, at least temporarily. And I got the farm work and things, and so I'm pretty busy, and I just don't have extra time for stuff. And so, people have to just figure things out for themselves. I give enough information to find whatever you need to find. The other thing is sort of a similar type of situation. Somebody left me this comment. Paul, what about doing a Friday night 9 p.m. sitting for 30 to 60 minutes? That could replace the Tuesday sitting and also be used anytime during the week, as well as done multiple times for even more benefits as the time allows. Seems to me that the Friday night 9 p.m. transmission is on a different level from others in a good way. Now, I think I've explained this. These are the things where I feel like I've explained these things. And so if I haven't, then I guess I will now. It'll give me a chance to talk more about the Friday night sitting. But I think I've talked about this over and over again in videos. So, I don't know how well people listen is the thing, right? And if I haven't explained it, I'll do it here. So the Friday 9 p.m. sitting is a sitting that was for people who didn't have access to a preceptor. And it became something where everybody could do it. And so there was a half-hour sitting. It's not an hour. It's a half-hour sitting. You meditate for a half hour on Friday nights at 9 p.m., and you get a sitting direct from the master. And if you had a preceptor, you'd go to your preceptor. But there are people who lived, where there was no other abhyasis in cities far away from everybody. And they couldn't get regular individual sittings. And so they could do the Friday night sitting and also sit on Sunday like we do here for an hour on Sunday. But it's on a specific time. And so when Kamlesh started the app where you could connect with a preceptor all the time, they stopped doing the Friday night sitting, and I stopped doing it. There was a point where everybody was allowed to do it too. So, so I was doing it for years, and I enjoyed it. But when Kamlesh took over and did the app, there was no need for it because you could get a sitting for a preceptor at any time. Plus, I was at a gathering before that happened in 2016, and it was Friday night at 9. And we didn't do the prayer, and Kamlesh wasn't giving a sitting because he was there. So I don't even know how that worked, if there was a sitting that just descended from the heavens every Friday night. But it was something when I left doing the heartfulness bullshit stuff, I started to try it again. I did it again. I was like, oh, wow, it still works. Even though Kamlesh is not doing it. Of course, he's not really, whatever the fuck has happened to him, I don't even know. But there is a sitting and a good one, and I just had a good one this past Friday. But it's for a half hour. It can only be done once. And it's 9 o'clock at your time, wherever your time is. And it's for, it starts at 9 and ends at 9:30. And that's it. That's all it is. And it can't be done by me or anybody else. It's a sitting coming directly from the master. It can't be replicated. It isn't something that I could be involved in. Plus, the whole idea of doing these sittings, like a Tuesday sitting, is that you can take the sitting at your convenience, or whatever it is, Tuesday or Wednesday. And you were only supposed to take one individual sitting a week, and then it was maybe as you were progressed, it was only one every 2 weeks. There was 2 group meditations in some centers, one in others, one on Sunday for sure, and an extra one on Wednesday. So we had the group meditation at this couple that had been like the senior preceptors there in Massachusetts at their house on Sunday, and then my preceptor Fred gave a Wednesday sitting, and it wasn't always him. Sometimes other preceptors would rotate in, and they would give satsang at one of these 2 venues. And then there was a meditation center that was there, and we started doing meditation, like a satsang every morning for people who wanted to come. And that was when me and my ex were there, and there was more preceptors, and that faded out. And of course, that was when we realized that we were no longer preceptors. It was a whole thing, right? So, but these sittings aren't supposed to be your practice. There was someone who was taking the individual sitting 7 times a week instead of meditating on their own. Like some parts you have to just learn to meditate on your own in the morning for an hour and do the cleaning at night. And doing your own personal cleaning is important. It keeps from keeps the whatever impressions you have from that day from forming into some skaras. And so all these things have to be done, and it's all on the Gratefullness Meditation channel, all of the stuff that's there. And so I'll put this video in terms of the practice. So the Friday night sittings are great to do for people who are into it, but you have to do it at the time. You can't do it at 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock. You do it once at you get the idea, every Friday at 9. And then everything else in terms of Gratefullness meditation, there's, if you need, like you're going through a period where you just feel like you need deep cleaning, then there's one sitting for 7 days. There's a sitting a day for 7 days before a gathering. That's good to do. Or the 3 sittings in one day. And then if you haven't practiced in a while, you can do the 3 sittings for the introduction sittings into the system. And then, the group meditations that are there at gatherings. There's a gathering coming up on July 24th in a month, about a month from today. It's the 24th of June, so I don't know what that is in terms of, basically a month. And so there's those 3 gatherings in February, April, and July with the masters' birthdays. And so, that's it. And, people should be listening over and over to the explanations in the Gratefullness Meditation YouTube channel, time permitting, and also be looking for literature and things, reading and finding out about it, because some of these things are also discussed there. If people have legitimate questions, it's great, and if I haven't answered them already, the problem is, people have to understand it's a science. Like, it isn't just random shit that you do or whatever. Like, there was all these things that came into being for a reason. The 9 p.m. was because people didn't have access to a preceptor. And long distance sittings and apps and phones and things. This is back in Babaji's day in the 70s, the 60s, 70s, and then a little bit after that, Sharaji's day. I'm not sure exactly when they began with the 9 p.m. sittings on Friday. I understand that the practice is, it's more accessible and available now. I think more people can do it and feel a transmission. I think it's become easier for people to feel a transmission. And now with the internet and the Gratefullness Meditation channel, it's more accessible than ever for people. But there's issues, right? There's legitimate issues that are there. Because, people experience preceptors and were able to talk to preceptors, and preceptors would answer them questions. And then going to gatherings, you would pick up a lot of things, and you know about things. There's literature, there's more books, and there's videos, and there's always talks of Charji being put up on the internet. There's still some under the Sahaj Marg. There's still some on the Sahaj Marg website, and there's still some from the Sahaj Marg YouTube channel. They're putting more and more of his He the Hook and I talks. And if you listen to the talks, you get little hints. You read the books. There's things there, and it's helpful for the practice. And then we talk to people, other abhyasis, when we saw gatherings, and there's a lot of things there that are missing. That sucks. And I learned a lot from going to different preceptors and hearing the talks of the master, reading the literature, and all that stuff. It doesn't exist now, which is unfortunate, but it's not something that I can be a catch-all for all those things. It's unfortunate that there's limitation there of just one person, right? And not like the best person, like not the most. I mean, I know a lot about the system, but there's things that it's limited. Each person has their limited experience, and so people have to, please listen to the videos here, and then think about it in a way like, if you're going to ask me something, it's great if, I don't mind answering questions about the practice or the system, and whenever I wrote a question to the master, I wrote a letter, I got the answer before he actually answered me. And when I sat with them, if I had questions or I had, things I want to talk to them about, usually they would resolve themselves when I just got there and started doing the meditation. The answers come in meditation, things like that, right? And so, I have the things set up, like the gratefulness meditation, like I know what I'm doing in terms of all that. One sitting a week, I've set it up to be like the practice that I had. I would get an individual sitting usually on Tuesday. I was working a job where I worked Wednesday, I worked at like half a day on Wednesday and left at 2 and would go to group meditation. I worked from 2 to 10 on Thursday, Friday, and a double on Saturday. I go to group meditation on Sunday, and then on Monday or Tuesday, usually Tuesday, I get an individual sitting. And that was my practice for the first year. And I've set it up like that for everyone else. I usually give a sitting on Tuesday or Wednesday. There's no group meditation on Wednesday, but anybody could meditate if they wanted. You can just have the idea that you're sitting in at a group meditation, the same thing we do on Sunday. And then you can do any of the other individual specialty sittings if you feel like you need deeper cleaning. But they're not a substitute for your individual practice. Like getting cleaning and transmission through the sittings, you also have to learn to meditate on your own by doing your own cleaning at the end of the day for a half hour. When your day's work is done, and then you do a 10 minutes praying before you go to sleep. I mean, it's all covered. I cover this in various videos, and I think the introductory video, and then writing in your diary. Then meditate for no more than an hour, as much as you can. An hour is great, preferably before dawn, if you can do that, depending on your sleep schedule. But first thing in the morning, meditating for an hour. And then, those things on your own. You just say the prayer and you meditate. And you'll feel transmission and you'll have your own, you're learning to connect to God directly, by doing that. Also, you get a little boost from the sittings. So it's you doing your own practice, but also getting help from the sittings and these other things. And Friday night, you can do the sitting at 9 p.m. So there's an individual sitting on Tuesday, another one on Friday, then the group meditation that you do at your convenience on Sunday, your own personal practice, and all these things are explained in the Gratefulness meditation. And so, these are the things that I explain over and over again so people will have a sense of it. And you can come back and listen to it if you have any questions. I think there's an introductory video to the channel that tells you where all the resources are, how to get books, and these things. There's some on eBay. There's used to be a Sahaj Marg bookstore that no longer exists. They have some Heartfulness Life that doesn't really have shit for books. Most of the books that you can get are on eBay or some used bookstore, and there's lots of them out there. People have died and their kids don't practice and they make it into the circuit. So that's how I found a lot of the books that I didn't have. Anyways, so that's it. And then there's also books that are available PDF you can read. Babaji's 5 books, the complete works of Ramchandra, Volume 1, the 5 written books by Babaji, the books he wrote. And then there's subsequent complete works of Ramchandra that have talks and excerpts of letters and things. And My Master by Charji, which is one of the key books to read. But if you go to every playlist, and there is a whole playlist where I talk about doing the practice and re-listening to those like once a year, whatever it is, whatever it takes to just make sure you're not missing out on anything, make sure you're doing it right, make sure that you might have misheard something or whatever it is, right? And that's why I've done that. I put a lot of effort into creating a comprehensive set of playlists with introductions and explanations of how to do the practice and the rest of it. So anyways, that's it for this one. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important for the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.